Hello, fellow watch enthusiasts, and welcome back for the final installment of Behind the Scenes at Bigham's Jewelers.
You know, I'd love to do something while we're on the topic. I know we explored a different tangent for a second, but let's put the explorers away. Let's keep the sub. Okay. I love to keep the sub. And you know what I would also love? I would love if we could talk dive watches for a moment.
Great idea.
Sure. Mm-hmm. So the Submariner is the quintessential dive watch, but Rolex has two more capable dive watches.
Yes, we certainly do. We have here we can start with. Here is a
Dan, what are we looking at?
40 millimeter Sea Dweller.
I love
previous model.
Give me the reference number.
New old stock. This is a 16600.
So this was made for a very short time.
Yep.
Because if you can look, we're going to compare these. You're going to hold these up. I'm looking here. This one actually has its original markings on it, so you'll see the stamp here. But that has a very unique feature. What is this circular feature on it?
That is a helium escape valve. Used when you're diving in a bell housing. As you come up, the watch will build helium gas inside the case, and that would allow the gas to escape and prevent you from blowing the crystal off your watch.
I love it. So this is the type of thing that no one is really going to benefit from, but it's great to know that Rolex is over-engineered watches. Right? Rolex, so no matter what you put it through, it's going to be ready.
So a little side note about that.
Mm-hmm. Rolex. We're taking a beverage break first.
Okay. Salut. Love you guys. Miss you guys. Mean it.
Red Bar, Naples.
Yes.
So we were talking about Rolex dive watches, and
yes.
Dan has magically made appear in front of us a incredible lineup of Rolex dive watches from recent history. And of course, we just saw the standard Submariner, and you're holding what?
First generation of the Sea Dweller, which has the helium escape valve. So when you're coming up from a deep sea dive, your crystal doesn't explode.
So that releases the helium bubbles, small helium bubbles.
Exactly.
Right.
And just before we go into the depth rating of all of these watches, so you know, it is not common knowledge to anyone, but it is usually rated on the actual dial of the watch how deep.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
That the depth rating is. But little known fact, Rolex actually tests every watch 25% greater in depth than it is actually rated for.
So that's fascinating. So Rolex overbuilds the watch from your typical experience, but actually overbuilds beyond what they represent it will withstand.
Exactly.
So let's talk depth ratings for a little bit, because I think this is fascinating. So this is a standard Submariner. This is 1,000 feet, if you can see it. Right here, let us look at the Sea Dweller.
4,000 feet.
4,000 feet. Here is a modern Sea Dweller. This is fantastic because this is a 50th anniversary, right?
Yes.
And you can tell that by
beautiful
the
watch,
red
letters.
Oh, I love it. So 4,000 feet as well. And then Dan, tell us a little bit about this watch as I hold it up, because this watch is rated to an astounding 12,800 feet.
So this is a very special watch. This watch was the only watch to ever be introduced outside of the Basel Fair. And they
until September 1st of this year. That's right.
Yes. Yeah, this was developed along with James Cameron, National Geographic. James Cameron built a submarine and took it to the Marianas Trench. And they designed this watch for that feat. Has helium escape valve in the side. It has a dome sapphire crystal. It's the only Rolex to have a dome sapphire, and a titanium case back, which gave it the ability to flex under great pressure.
So when I see the different color metal here, the slightly darker metal, that's a titanium.
Titanium.
Right.
Yes.
Unique to that watch, specifically.
Unique to that watch. I also love the fact that this has this ring lock system here. It's supporting a crystal that I think is 5.5 millimeters in thickness, and then it has the extra dome to provide it the extra depth rating. Yeah. So what's so fascinating here is that we have a watch here, the original, the standard Submariner, the quintessential dive watch in 1,000-foot depth rating. We're then looking at the Sea Dweller, which had the standard Sea Dweller. This is a 40 millimeter case here. This is a 43 millimeter case. This watch is rated to go 4 times the depth of that watch. Sorry for my awkward.
And is there any thickness difference because of the depth ratings of each watch?
Absolutely. What you're looking at here is basically a 12 millimeter thickness. This is a roughly 15 millimeter thickness, and this is roughly a 17.5 millimeter thickness. Now, the next step up from this, because we've just gone from 1,000 feet to 4,000 feet to 12,800 feet, but the Mariana Trench is 7.5 miles under the sea. That is basically 40,000 feet.
Greater than Mount Everest underwater.
Inversely.
Yes.
Right. So they actually, for the Deep Sea Challenge, which was the name of James Cameron's sub, they created a special watch that they attached to the outside of the submarine. That watch was rated to go down to that 40,000 feet that it achieved. Of course, it was probably rated to go down to 50,000 feet because it was overbuilt by 25% and underrepresented. Over-delivering and under-promising.
Under-promising, over-delivering, which is a great motto to live by.
But but can you imagine a watch that instead of 17.5 millimeters thick was 28.5 millimeters thick? Instead of 44 millimeters in diameter was 51 millimeters in diameter. And that is the watch that was ready to go 4 times the depth of this watch, which again is 4 times the depth of this watch being 4 times the depth of this watch.
And also, you just think of as a human, right, who goes down to that depth when they have to go into those.
One wonders why.
They have to go into those decompression units when they come back up because our bodies are not equipped to handle it, and they have to do that, which is why they build the helium escape valve. Another beautiful feature of this watch, because I am a lady and I'm going to go into aesthetics, is how it fades from a lighter blue down to a deeper blue to black, which is significant just because that's how the water is as you're going into the deep sea.
I love that. This is the only gradient Rolex I know of, right?
It is the only gradient Rolex. It is a significant, beautiful piece of machinery.
Now, which gradient of the blue most reminds you of the blue that you expect on the new Submariner?
I mean, I think we're going to just rest and move on.
If the Submariner is the quintessential Rolex, the king of the Rolex line, and Dan, these are fantastic watches, but I think we're about to accelerate rapidly into the finish. And accelerate is a key word because it gets to racing. And Rolex made a watch made after the most famous American race, the Daytona. And maybe we can see the current steel Daytona lineup for just a moment. So, Dan, this is the black dial Daytona, which is with Cerachrome bezel. And beside it is the Rolex Panda with the white dial, also the Cerachrome bezel. These watches, I believe, harken back to like the 6263s of the early and mid 70s, where you see this contrast between the dial and a black bezel. Very different than where Rolex began with a steel engraved bezel, and very different from the watches that we saw from the Reagan administration on until recently, until these watches were introduced, where we again had the steel engraved bezel with both the Zenith Daytona and the 16520 and the 116520. So Dan, can you explain what watch we're looking at now?
So this is a previous generation where they used either a steel or a gold bezel that was engraved.
So that's engraved straight into the metal as opposed to being a ceramic like we're seeing on the more modern watches.
Correct.
What years would that watch have been available?
This watch started in the 80s with this type of bezel. They are actually, today it is still available in this configuration. However, I'm predicting a change here very soon.
You think we're going to more Cerachrome Daytona bezels, even in the precious metals?
Yes, because we're now seeing a white gold rubber band, a yellow gold, a rose
Sure.
gold ceramic,
Right.
stainless steel, ceramic. This has not been converted yet. It
That's
seems
it.
logical that this would be one that would be converted as well.
So
in the
with
future.
time, because that is a beautiful bezel where they've etched into the metal itself by the way, let's back up for a second. Can you explain how the bezel actually works?
Yeah, so this is a tachymeter bezel. It measures average miles per hour on a 1 mile track. The top button here is a start and stop button. The bottom button resets it. What you would do is when your car would start, you would press the button in. The hand here at 12 o'clock would start to come around. As the car makes a lap, you would press the top button again. Wherever that hand is pointing to the outer bezel is going to measure your average miles per hour.
So that's great. So this, what we're seeing in the middle here, this hand that's standing at full attention at 12 o'clock, that's not a second hand.
Correct. That is your actual hand that's measuring the miles per hour. The subdials are breaking down time into hours, minutes, and seconds.
And the subdial at the bottom is actually the sweeping second hand, which a lot of people are confused if they've never operated a Daytona.
And so each of these pushers here, as you're referencing them for the chronometer, they seem to have these threaded screw down crowns. Do you have has it always been that way?
No.
Nope.
It has not always been that way. So basically, the threaded crowns on the new model, you unscrew the pushers, you unthread it, you push it down, and that's how it operates. But on previous generations, such as many of you may have heard, like a Paul Newman watch or
Early Daytonas.
So before you freak out in your living rooms at home, we are actually looking at a Paul Newman Daytona. This is a similar variant. This probably came out of the factory at the same time that Paul Newman's own Paul Newman Daytona came out. The watch that just a few years ago sold for $17 million at an auction on Park Avenue in New York. And right now we're looking at this incredible, somewhat funky Art Deco dial variant, again with the steel bezel. Can you tell us a little bit about the reference this watch, what year it came from?
6262, and the dial is in mint condition. Dan,
that looks like it's hardly been worn.
Yeah, this watch was kept in a safety deposit box, actually. This is a Paul Newman exotic dial. It's a plastic crystal, and you may have noticed the case is considerably smaller on these early Daytonas. They did not have the screw-down pushers that are watertight like the new modern watches are. And this is also not an automatic watch. It is a manual wind, a 727 caliber. There's been a lot of changes, as you can see, over time. The following generation on this watch went to screw-down pushers, but the early models had just a regular mono pusher on each side. So a little bit different, improvements over time, but this is one of the rarest of the Daytonas.
Super rare, right? I think they only made this watch for 1 year, right?
2 years.
For 2 years, okay, so it's the 62.
It's extremely rare, and just, there are a lot of different things I know when you Rolex enthusiasts know when you look at watches and different marks and different dials and different things. Also, one of the things that makes this watch so rare is the pushers. When the pushers have been replaced, when they're service replacement pushers, they actually have a line through them. Yeah. This does not, which makes it the original pushers to the watch, which significantly increases the value. And this dial, as you can see, is in pristine condition.
I mean, that is a crazy watch. So that what we're looking at there is a 50-year-old watch that looks like you just took it out of Bigham's boutique. Do we have any other Daytonas?
I'm wearing one on my other wrist.
How about, do we have any other examples? Let's see something in precious metals, perhaps.
Sure.
So this is Rolex's own version of rose gold, which they call
Ever Rose.
Not Rolls. A Rolls-Royce is the two-tone. So this is Ever Rose. So correction, this is Ever Rose, which is Rolex's own rose gold.
Rolex actually has a patent on this specific alloy, which is why they call it Ever Rose. They put palladium in their alloy, which makes it this beautiful, fleshy rose color. Not masculine, not feminine, but more of just a beautiful, fleshy skin tone.
I love it, yeah.
Unlike other rose golds, it's not going to be orange or change color as Rolex.
So that has a dial that matches the case, but also has contrasting subdials in the black. So that almost has this panda feel about it, but in precious metals.
Yeah, the Ever Rose Gold, the other thing you might note is it is completely stable. The special alloy will never tarnish, which is
that right?
common to
Okay.
rose gold.
Sure.
Will always tarnish. There's platinum in it, and it's a special secret formula, but it's a stable rose gold, and it's the only watch company I'm aware of that actually has that metal. Yeah, very special piece.
Very special piece.
Say that one more time. It's the only watch company just because you got.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's the only watch company that I'm aware of that has developed a rose gold that's completely stable that will not tarnish. It's guaranteed for life.
So, speaking of very special pieces, perhaps in rose gold, let's put this. This is a lot of heat that we have on the table, but my guess is that you have a significantly warmer piece to share with us.
I do. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to show with you. I'm actually going to take it off.
What a
This
shame.
watch is so special that it still has the plastic on it because we have not peeled the plastic from the watch because of the significance. This is what is referred to as the Rainbow Daytona. So not only is it Ever Rose, but you'll notice the diamond lugs, you'll notice the graduated sapphire crystal bezel.
I mean, that is amazing. So they have picked up all the colors of the rainbow. Each sapphire next to the other is a slightly different but similar color as it moves in full rainbow colors around the bezel.
And this is kind of where the appreciation from a jeweler comes in, because as a watch enthusiast, many people do not know this. These sapphires, 90% of sapphires, over 90% of sapphires are heated, which means they're heated to stabilize their color, to enhance their color.
Sure.
They're still very valuable, but they are heat treated.
Yep.
Rolex only uses unheated, internally flawless sapphires, which is extremely rare. So not only does it take several years.
So that's the full if and only if.
If and only
internally. Well,
Yes.
If and only if.
Yes.
That's all we're looking
Exactly.
at. Exactly.
Mhm. So not only are they internally flawless, not only are they unheated, but it takes several years to find the perfect graduation of color. And as a side note to the watch enthusiast, as far as the diamond lugs are concerned, on any Rolex that you see from an authorized dealer, they are internally flawless, colorless diamonds.
Same, yeah, right. So the gem set protocols at Rolex are second to none.
And I will just tell you, as a jeweler, you know, we have very high-end pieces that are one of a kind, where jewelers come up with a sketch, and it takes them 3 to 5 years to find the gemstones to complete that sketch with unheated, internally flawless gemstones. And Rolex puts this on the bezel of a Daytona.
So if someone would like this watch, they should go to the website and put in a request.
If someone would like this watch, they should say a prayer and hope that they see one in person someday.
Of course, it's a joke because these are impossible to find. Well, I'm going to grab this watch from you.
Yeah.
I did put on my special glove.
Okay.
But I do love the fact that while previous versions of this watch in white and yellow gold had this incredible bezel, they lacked these hour indices. They in fact had what I would call square diamonds, where here we are looking at, what do you call it?
Baguettes.
Baguette cut sapphires on each of the hour indices, and we're talking right around the dial here. Again, 12 is a crown because it's the king, it's Rolex. But there we go. We're going 1 in orange, and by the time that you get to 3, we're in yellow, and by the time you get to 6, you're in blue, and by the time you get to 9, you're in pink, which is fantastic, and again in 11, you're in red. And they have actually done the graduated hour indices in the matching sapphire baguettes on this watch, which makes the rose gold version unique to both the yellow and white gold version.
And they are not making it anymore.
They're not making it anymore? So this is basically impossible to find. And this watch, I just happen to know that this watch, as potentially niche and feminine and Elton John as it looks, has found quite a following with a very masculine set too. So this is a watch that has found a lot of wearing occasion.
And I would say it actually is famous for mostly men do wear this watch.
Mostly men do wear that watch. Incredible watch.
And they have appreciated immensely from when they were released. So we're seeing these watches today on the secondary market going for $100,000 over retail.
No kidding.
I mean, this.
And so
this
again,
watch,
if someone would like to get
no,
one
no.
for the Bighams,
If this watch,
send an email or a text, perhaps you want. We've just seen outstanding examples. We've seen a Paul Newman dial Daytona from 50 years ago. We've seen a brand new Everose Rainbow Daytona, related, unbelievably excellent in their own ways, but at totally different ends of the spectrum. So this has been incredible, but I have mixed emotions at the moment because I feel so thankful for having this opportunity at the Rolex boutique at Bigham's Jewelers to talk about some fantastic watches, but I also feel like we've left so much on the table, literally, with other watches.
There's so much that we haven't discussed, and I'm happy and thankful, Dan and I, to be part of the Red Bar community. This was so fun, but it also makes me realize how much I miss talking to everyone about all of these amazing watches.
Actually in person.
And just communicating and doing everything. So I would like to personally invite everyone from Red Bar. The second we are able to do it, we are going to do an after hours, closed doors, special event exclusively for Red Bar Naples. Celebrate back to the community.
Incredible.
It's going to happen. You are all invited, and just to be determined, and miss everybody.
Yeah, well, I think that's wonderful, and I think that's also a great place to wrap this really nice after-hours event behind the scenes here at Bigham's Jewelers. Just an incredible thank you to Jana and Dan and everyone here at Bigham's for opening up their doors to us, showing us some incredible watches. I know there's a lot left to come. An incredible thank you to Nick Adams Photography,
yes,
who's
thank you,
done
Nick.
a fantastic job helping us out here. If you don't know Nick Adams, he has the best Rolodex of corporate clients in Southwest Florida, everywhere from Sanibel down to Naples and the Ritz and the whole thing. So whether you're looking for corporate events or you're looking for family portraits, look up Nick Adams Photography. And we thank you on behalf of all the watch enthusiasts in Red Bar Naples and me, Kyle. I really want to thank again Jenna and Dan for having us here at Bigham's. And everyone, have a great
Nick,
day.
you're amazing, and we will see you with a personal invite very soon.
All right, thank you both.
Thanks.
Yeah.